Greetings and welcome to the Culture Ward, where we dissect and dismember pop culture in all its forms. My name is Jess, and today we have to address the recent reveal video that Disney Marvel released to build hype around the new Avengers movie titled Avengers Doomsday. This video dropped a few days ago in a 5.5-hour live stream showcasing the name of 27 actors and actresses who will apparently appear in the next Avengers movie, which is set to be released in 2026. Of course, there are some names that were supposed to be shocking surprises and spark nostalgia-fueled buzz online. Mission accomplished, I guess? Let me ask an honest question. Does anyone out there know who the Avengers are? I mean, like right now. At this point in time, who are the Avengers? Back in 2008, the first Iron Man movie, as well as The Incredible Hulk, the one starring Edward Norton as the Hulk, were both released, and both movies had end-credit scenes hinting at a shared universe. People really responded well, especially to Iron Man, and a franchise was born, with shared continuity and a planned trajectory and everything. Iron Man 2 was released in 2010, followed by Thor and Captain America the First Avenger in 2011, all building toward a planned crossover film called The Avengers, which was released in 2012 and became a cultural phenomenon, grossing over $1 billion. This came to be known as Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it established the Avengers as a superhero collective. Iron Man, Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., Captain America, Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans, Thor, played by Chris Hemsworth, the Hulk, Bruce Banner, played by Mark Ruffalo now, Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, played by Scarlett Johansson, and Hawkeye, Clint Barton, played by Jeremy Renner. Phase 2 consisted of Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Captain America Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, and the second Avengers movie, Age of Ultron. The first Ant-Man movie was also released in this phase, but it came after Age of Ultron. In Age of Ultron, the core Avengers return, plus we introduced Vision, Wanda Maximoff, and, well, kind of briefly, Quicksilver, or Pietro Maximoff, Sam Wilson, or Falcon, and we welcome War Machine, or James Rhodes, officially into the group. Phase 3 was longer, ending with two separate Avengers movies, Infinity War and Endgame, which brought the Infinity Saga to a close. That's what phases 1 through 3 were known as because they all built toward the Infinity Stones and Thanos. You've seen the movies, right? This was 22 movies and a decade in the making, and it was revolutionary. Infinity War and Endgame grossed a total of almost $5 billion. Endgame is the second highest grossing film of all time, with Infinity War coming in at number 6. Truly phenomenal. By the time of Avengers Infinity War, the Avengers group had grown quite a lot. We had the original group, plus Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, Spider-Man, Falcon, or Sam Wilson. But the core Avengers were still the draw for this franchise. By the end of Phase 3, though, we had lost most of our legacy characters. Spoiler warning if you've been in a coma for the past 6 years. If you haven't seen these movies and still intend to, I'll give you a few seconds to leave. Gone? Okay. Tony Stark, Natasha Romanoff, and Vision all died in Infinity War and Endgame. Bruce Banner and Hulk are no longer either Bruce Banner or Hulk. There's some weird hybrid of the two that don't make sense. Hawkeye kind of retired. Steve Rogers got old and he's basically dead in the MCU now. And Thor left to go rediscover himself with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So we really don't have a solid core of Avengers anymore. Although several of the characters that had been built up over the previous 3 phases were still around, what Marvel needed to do was establish this leftover regiment of heroes as a new version of the Avengers, or bring in some new ones that people cared about. Well, they didn't, and all the evidence suggests that they didn't really try, or they didn't know how. Phases 4 and 5, known collectively as the Multiverse Saga, because of all the stupid multiverse stuff they do, have been a total shit show. Most of the movies, plus nearly all of the Disney Plus series, have been garbage. Black Widow came out in 2021, 2 years after Black Widow died in Endgame, to tell us a stupid story about what Natasha was doing between Civil War and Infinity War. Well, not really. What Black Widow's movie was really meant to do was to introduce us to the new Black Widow, Yelena. Now, Florence Pugh is a fine actress, but her character, Yelena, whatever her last name is dumb. She's discount Black Widow. They keep trying to make her a thing, but nobody's buying it. People like Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, and everyone knows that Marvel did her dirty. Then there was Shang-Chi, where they introduced an Asian martial arts superhero, as well as his stronger, faster, fightier, and better at everything sister, whatever her name is. Then the Eternals, where they introduced a bunch of overpowered heroes that really don't do anything in the MCU. None of them are expected to be part of the Avengers, and it's kind of a pointless movie that almost nobody watched. Finally, Marvel's first hit movie post-Endgame was Spider-Man No Way Home. This movie was pretty good. It finally made decent use of the multiverse as a plot device to bring in some variants of Spider-Man and his enemies, and it made a ton of money. But it didn't really move the needle toward establishing a new Avengers. In fact, since Spider-Man is still owned by Sony, it has been very difficult for Disney to make him an Avenger. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness came after, also expanding on the idea of a multiverse. This movie nearly broke $1 billion too, and it introduced us to America Chavez, but also, at least ostensibly, killed off the Scarlet Witch. Thor Love and Thunder followed. Thor is still out there in the universe, but at the end of the movie, he appears to be settling down to raise an adopted child. But don't worry, Valkyrie's running things in New Asgard, and I assume she is supposed to be an Avenger? I don't know. It also introduced us to Lady Thor, but then immediately killed her off, and Thor's new daughter, named Love, who also seems to be superpowered. I guess we'll see her again eventually too. Black Panther Wakanda Forever came after. Tragically, Chadwick Boseman, who played T'Challa, passed away before this movie was made. Instead of recasting him, they killed him off in the movie, and made his 60-pound teenage sister the new Black Panther. It also introduced Namor, who was supposed to be the Submariner from the comics, but of course they changed him for modern audiences, and he's just not great. Phase 5 began with Ant-Man Quantumania. Scott Lang is still out there in the MCU, and now his daughter, Cassie, is apparently training to be an ant person as well. Oh, and Hope Van Dyne, aka the Wasp, also still exists, apparently. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 kind of wraps up the Guardian story, but none of them were really Avengers, so they were always kind of ancillary to the Earth heroes. Although Peter Quill, Star-Lord, does return to Earth at the end. Maybe he'll be an Avenger now? The Marvels, Marvel's biggest bomb gave us Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Monica Rambeau, I think. Now these last two characters were actually already introduced in Disney Plus shows, which I'll talk about in a minute. I'm not sure if any of these girl bosses are actually Avengers, because again, there's been absolutely no groundwork laid for any character to be an Avenger since 2019. Deadpool and Wolverine was kind of a bottle episode. It exists in the MCU, but doesn't really seem to affect the main MCU universe. So I don't see any potential Avengers emerging from this movie. Finally, Captain America Brave New World just released this year. This movie seeks to establish Sam Wilson, formerly known as Falcon, as the new Captain America. I'm not buying it, and I know a lot of other people aren't either. I like Sam Wilson, I like Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, but I like them as Falcon. Hashtag Steve Rogers is Captain America. Sam Wilson is Falcon. Now, as much as I hate to, I have to at least mention the Disney Plus shows that have proliferated throughout phases 4 and 5. WandaVision, the first one, was okay. It put Vision to rest, it set Wanda up for Doctor Strange, and introduced Agatha Harkness, Monica Rambeau, White Vision, and maybe Wiccan and Speed, Wanda's imaginary children. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was the next one. It made Sam Wilson Captain America at the end, after another new character was stripped of the title. Loki gave us Lady Loki and introduced the Time Variance Authority, which is still a thing. Hawkeye, I guess it retires Clint Barton, but it gave us Kate Bishop, who was supposed to be the new Hawkeye, Lady Hawkeye, I guess. Moon Knight gave us Moon Knight Mark Spector and the stronger, more powerful, and better at everything Egyptian girl hero Scarab. Miss Marvel gave us Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel. So She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, introduced Bruce Banner's cousin, Jennifer Walters, who becomes She-Hulk. Oh god, the show is an abomination and should be scrubbed from the memory of the universe. There was Secret Invasion, which completely destroyed whatever dignity Nick Fury had left, and gave us the most powerful Skrull and mightiest girl boss in the world, Gaia, I think. Loki Season 2 kind of took our Loki out of the picture, but seems to have left stronger, smarter, and better at everything Lady Loki out there. Echo. God, another one. Echo was introduced in Hawkeye, but she was given more time to disappoint audiences with this show. I guess she's still around. Agatha All Along. This show is about one of the antagonists from WandaVision, Agatha Harkness. I can't believe this show is canon. Whatever. I don't know what effect it's supposed to have on the MCU. So where does all that leave us now? Who the hell are the Avengers? The honest answer is that there are no Avengers right now. The Avengers ended, died, or disappeared at the end of Avengers Endgame. The past 6 years have seen Marvel wandering aimlessly, producing shit movie after shit TV show, and trying to replace all of our legacy characters, the ones audiences actually liked, with second-rate, derivative, or just plain stupid alternatives, albeit diverse ones. And oh, the girl bosses. So many legacy male characters have been eclipsed and outdone by female counterparts. Sometimes, like in Thor: Love and Thunder, they just make a female version of the male character, Lady Thor. Also Lady Loki, and Lady Hawkeye, and Lady Hawk, and Lady Black Panther, and Lady Ant-Man. And overall, there have been dozens of characters introduced since Endgame, any number of whom could be part of the Avengers. Yet none are. We have the Thunderbolts and the Fantastic Four coming out this summer, followed by the Avengers Doomsday next spring. But what has supposedly led up to an Avengers movie? I just don't see any cohesion or logical setup for a big crossover event, except in the vague multiverse stories that have been told here and there. Doctor Strange, Spider-Man No Way Home, Loki, Deadpool, and Wolverine. Now, I know there was some trouble that kind of interrupted the intended story. See, the next Avengers movie was supposed to be the Kang Dynasty, followed then by Secret Wars. The supervillain Kang was being built up as the next big bad, the next Thanos. He appeared in Loki first, and then in Ant-Man Quantumania, and he was supposed to tie some of these threads together, I guess. Unfortunately, the actor who played Kang, Jonathan Majors, got into a little trouble. So Marvel decided to go in a different direction. They kind of scrapped their plans and tried to cobble some other story together to get to Secret Wars, and this is what they came up with. The MCU had been struggling for a while. Most of the movies either flopped or barely made a profit, and the Disney Plus shows were all trash. Quote, superhero fatigue seemed to be setting in. But not really. That's just what the Access media called it, because they couldn't admit that it was actually just Disney Marvel fatigue, and that the reason for it wasn't because people were tired of superhero movies, but because they were tired of shitty ones. What we did notice, and the media couldn't help but comment on, was that the movies that actually did well, Spider-Man No Way Home, Deadpool and Wolverine for instance, brought back legacy characters and actors as part of the story. Spider-Man brought back Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man variants. Deadpool and Wolverine brought back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and a bunch of other cameos from the old Fox Marvel movies. So the lesson that Disney learned, instead of, hey, make movies that don't suck, was make content that brings back old people. So, in a rather unsurprising surprise move, Marvel announced at Comic-Con last year that Robert Downey Jr. would be returning to the MCU, but not as Iron Man. He would be playing Dr. Doom, and they announced that the Russo brothers, who had directed Infinity War and Endgame, would be returning as well to direct Doomsday, which would replace the Kang Dynasty. And that pretty much brings us up to date. On March 26, Disney had a 5.5-hour live stream of chairs showcasing 27 names of actors that would be featured in the new Avengers movie. Early names were completely unsurprising, like Anthony Mackie, Florence Pugh, Letitia Wright, Sebastian Stan, Paul Rudd, Tom Hiddleston, Chris Hemsworth. Well, that was a little surprising since it seemed like he was done with Thor. However, toward the end, we started getting into exciting reveals, like bringing back the original X-Men cast, including Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Rebecca Romijn, James Marsden, and the guy who played Nightcrawler. Alan Cumming is his name. But that's it. That's all they did. No mention of the story, no discussion of plans, no hint at what the fuck this movie will even be about. Just pure nostalgia bait, hoping to generate excitement for the new thing by promising it would have people from the old thing. And don't get me wrong, I think it could be cool to have these characters introduced to the MCU if they do it right. Do I trust their talent and ability to do so? Well, they have before, so I guess maybe. But one thing remains to be seen. Will enough people be excited about this vague non-announcement to make this movie the kind of hit it needs to be? The budget for this thing has to be over $500 million. Add marketing and it will need to make a minimum of $1.5 billion just to break even. So for this movie to actually do well, it's going to need to break $2 billion. In other words, it'll need to be one of the top 5 highest grossing movies of all time. One thing that some people, did complain about was the lack of female characters featured in the reveal. Out of 27 actors' names, only 5 were women. There was no She-Hulk, Agatha Harkness, Wanda, Kate Bishop, Echo, Lady Ant-Man, Valkyrie, Lady Loki, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau. The only women announced were Letitia Wright, Rebecca Romijn, Florence Pugh, Vanessa Kirby, who plays Sue Storm in the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, and Hannah John Kamen, who plays Ghost. Remember Ghost? She was one of the antagonists in Ant-Man and the Wasp. No, you don't remember? Don't worry, nobody else does either. But that was it, just those 5. Predictably, there was outrage on the internet that these were the only 5 female supers that were announced. So why would Disney not include all those other girl boss superheroes? You know, all those female heroes that nobody cared about or can remember from all those movies and shows that nobody went to see? Why would a company not push products that have already been soundly rejected by their customer base? Because, maybe, for a change, they want to sell tickets. Maybe, we'll see. We have been reassured that those 27 reveals won't be the entire cast, which means they may be bringing back others, including plenty of girl power. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. Another announcement for a piece of content that will feature people we know from other things, in the hopes that we'll go see this thing. It could be good. It should at least get people talking. How about you? Did you enjoy the 5-hour live stream of empty chairs? Are you looking forward to the next Avengers movie? Or are you apathetic about anything Marvel or Disney these days? Let me know in the comments. As always, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and want to see more content. Bye for now. I hope to see you next time in the Culture Wars.